I knew something was wrong the moment I stepped onto my porch and saw the empty space where my Amazon package was supposed to be. It wasn't just missing, it had vanished into thin air, like a magic trick performed by a neighborhood menace with sticky fingers. And then, as I checked my doorbell camera footage, my suspicions were confirmed. There she was, Karen, standing in broad daylight, wearing that smug, self-satisfied grin, as she plucked my package off my porch like it was her God-given right. She didn't even try to be sneaky. No hood, no disguise. Just a woman with the audacity of a cartoon villain, walking off with my package like she was doing me a favor. I stood frozen for a second, feeling my blood pressure spike. This wasn't just about a package anymore. It was the principle, the nerve, the absolute gall of this woman. My mind raced as I tried to remember all the stories I had heard from the neighbors, complaints whispered over fences, rants posted on the HOA Facebook group. Karen had been pulling this stunt for months, if not years. And apparently she had never faced consequences. My jaw clenched as I marched back inside, checking my Amazon order history to confirm what I already knew. My brand new high-tech gaming headset, something I had been waiting for all week, was now sitting in the greedy clutches of a woman who probably didn't even know how to use it. My doorbell camera app played the footage again. There she was, shoulder-length blonde bob, oversized sunglasses, and an expression of entitlement so thick you could spread it on toast. She tucked the package under her arm and strutted away like she had just won a prize. I was going to put an end to this. I took a deep breath, debating my options. I could call the police, but I already knew how that would go. A report would be filed, a board officer would make a half-hearted visit, and Karen would play the role of an innocent, confused woman who had mistakenly picked up the package, only to claim it had mysteriously disappeared. No, calling the cops wouldn't fix this. I needed to confront her directly. Grabbing my phone, I headed next door. The walk across her perfectly manicured lawn felt like stepping onto enemy territory. I rang the doorbell, and within seconds the door flew open. Karen stood there, looking at me like I had just interrupted her afternoon of counting stolen goods. "Can I help you?" she asked, voice dripping with artificial sweetness. I cut straight to the point. "Hey, Karen. I think you accidentally grabbed my package earlier." She blinked, feigning confusion. "Your package?" "Yeah. I saw it on my doorbell camera. You took it about an hour ago." Karen gasped, clutching her chest like I had just accused her of high treason. "Oh my goodness, that must have been a mistake. I thought it was mine." I stared at her, unimpressed. "Really? Because it had my name on it." "Well," she said, crossing her arms, "maybe Amazon delivered it to the wrong house." "They didn't," I shot back. "Because I literally saw you steal it from my porch." Karen let out a dramatic sigh, shaking her head like she was dealing with an unruly child. "Listen, I don't appreciate being accused of theft. Maybe you should check with Amazon instead of harassing me." I clenched my jaw. The sheer audacity was almost impressive. "All right," I said, stepping back. "If you're sure you don't have it, I'll just check with the HOA. I'm sure they'd love to see the footage." That got a reaction. Her face twitched just slightly, her lips pressing together as if calculating her next move. But before she could say anything, the unmistakable sound of a small dog barking like a demon from inside her house interrupted the moment. Karen glanced back, clearly flustered, and for a split second I saw it. The package, sitting on her entryway table. Still sealed. Still very much mine. I could have pushed further, but I already knew how this was going to play out. Karen wasn't going to admit guilt. She was going to double down, play the victim, and turn this into some absurd neighborhood dispute where I was the villain for daring to call her out. Fine. If she wanted to play games, I would play games. I gave her one last look, forcing a smile. "No worries, Karen. I'll take care of it." Her eyes narrowed slightly, sensing something beneath my calm tone, but before she could say anything, I turned and walked away. Back in my house, I grabbed my laptop and opened the neighborhood Facebook group. It was a goldmine of frustrated homeowners venting about package theft, and as I scrolled through, I found what I was looking for: post after post about missing deliveries, all happening within a 3-house radius. My blood boiled. She had been doing this for a long time, and somehow she had gotten away with it. That was about to change. I quickly typed up a post. "Hey neighbors. Just a heads up. Caught someone on my doorbell cam taking a package off my porch today. If you've had packages go missing, I'd check your security footage. I'll be sharing mine soon." Within minutes, the post blew up. Comments flooded in. "OMG, was it Karen? I knew it. She took my daughter's birthday gift last month. Can we please do something about this woman?" I sat back satisfied. The seed had been planted. But this was only the beginning. I had no doubt Karen had seen the post. And I had no doubt that she would find a way to weasel out of it. She always did. But this time, I wasn't going to let her. I needed proof. Solid, undeniable proof that she was behind all of it. And I knew exactly how to get it. That night, I put my plan into action. I took an empty Amazon box, tucked a small GPS tracker inside, and placed it neatly on my porch. It was bait, shiny, irresistible bait, and I was willing to bet my next paycheck that Karen wouldn't be able to resist. I set up my camera feed, dimmed the lights, and waited. 30 minutes later, movement. There she was. Karen, peeking out of her house like a raccoon sniffing for food. She crept onto my porch, looked around, then swiftly snatched the box and scurried back inside. Gotcha. I checked the GPS. The package was now inside her house. I grinned. "Oh, Karen. You just made a huge mistake. Because tomorrow I was going to give you a package you'd never forget." The plan was simple. If Karen wanted to keep stealing my packages, I was going to give her a package she would never forget. I sat at my kitchen table, phone in hand, as I dialed the one person who could help me execute this perfectly. Mark picked up on the third ring, his voice groggy from what I assumed was another late night of watching conspiracy theory videos. "What did Karen do this time?" he asked before I even had a chance to say hello. "She stole my Amazon package." Again. There was a pause, then a sigh. "Of course she did. I need your help," I said, lowering my voice as if Karen had my house bugged. "Something extreme. Something she'll regret." Mark was quiet for a second, then I heard a faint chuckle. "I think I know exactly what to do." By the next afternoon, I was standing in Mark's garage, staring at a plastic box filled with exactly what I needed: an entire colony of angry, buzzing hornets. "This is insane," I said, watching as Mark carefully secured the box inside a larger Amazon package. "This is justice," Mark corrected. "Think about it. Karen loves taking things that aren't hers, right? Well, now she's going to take something she really doesn't want." I could already picture it. Karen, smug as ever, sneaking onto my porch, grabbing the package, rushing inside, and the moment she opened it, chaos. Pure, unfiltered chaos. Mark had designed the box perfectly. It had a small, spring-loaded mechanism that would snap open the second she lifted the lid, releasing the swarm into her home. The hornets were already agitated from being transported, and once they were free, they would have only one mission: sting anything that moved. "Just to be clear," I said, watching as Mark sealed the package with a perfectly printed Amazon label, "this isn't going to, kill her, right?" "Absolutely not," Mark said confidently. "Hornets hurt, but they're not deadly unless she's allergic. And even then, she'd have to be really unlucky." I thought about it for a second, then nodded. "Good enough for me." That evening, I set the trap. I placed the package on my porch, angling my doorbell camera for the best possible shot. Then I went inside, turned off the lights, and waited. I didn't have to wait long. At precisely 9:17 p.m., movement. Karen, the suburban gremlin that she was, emerged from her house like she had some kind of sixth sense for stolen goods. She crept across the lawn, her eyes darting around to make sure no one was watching. She approached the package, hesitated for only a second, then snatched it up and scurried back into her house. I leaned forward, my eyes locked on the screen. Any second now. And then, it happened. Through the slightly ajar blinds of Karen's front window, I saw the exact moment she opened the box. 1 second of stillness. Then, absolute, unhinged pandemonium. Karen's scream pierced the night like a siren, a mix of rage, terror, and sheer disbelief. A second later, the front door burst open, and Karen came flying out of the house like she was being chased by a serial killer. She flailed wildly, slapping at her arms, her face, her legs, as if she had just been set on fire. Behind her, the unmistakable swarm of hornets spilled out like a living nightmare, filling the air around her in a buzzing, angry cloud. She tripped over her own feet, went down hard on the grass, rolled, then scrambled up again, still shrieking as the hornets continued their assault. From the window, I could see the inside of her house was absolute carnage. Furniture overturned, dishes shattered, her tiny yappy chihuahua running in frenzied circles, barking its lungs out. She darted toward her garden hose, fumbled with the nozzle, and turned it on herself in a desperate attempt to escape the hornet fury. Water blasted everywhere, soaking her from head to toe, but the hornets weren't done with her yet. She ran in circles, still flapping her arms like a deranged bird, before finally sprinting down the driveway, screaming for help. I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing out loud. The chaos had attracted the attention of the entire neighborhood. Porch lights flicked on. Curtains twitched as people peeked outside, some stepping onto their porches to witness the spectacle. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any funnier, Karen grabbed her phone and called 911. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I could imagine it. "Yes, officer, I need help. My house is under attack. No, not by burglars. By hornets. Yes. A box full of hornets. Someone did this to me." Within minutes, the flashing lights of emergency vehicles illuminated the street. A fire truck, an ambulance, a police car. A team of firefighters rushed toward Karen's house, trying to figure out exactly how one woman had managed to create a biohazard situation in the middle of a quiet suburban neighborhood. Meanwhile, Karen stood on the curb, soaked, covered in welts, her hair an absolute disaster, shaking with rage as she pointed at my house. Oh boy! The police officer walked up my driveway, giving me a suspicious look. "Sir, your neighbor claims you booby-trapped a package with hornets." I did my best to look shocked. "What? No way. That's insane. Who would do something like that?" The officer squinted at me, clearly not buying my act. "Do you have any idea how this happened?" I hesitated for a second, then shrugged. "Well, I did hear she's been stealing a lot of packages lately. Maybe someone finally got fed up?" Karen shrieked from across the street. "It was him. It was him. He did this." The officer sighed, clearly regretting his career choices. "Do you have any proof?" Karen sputtered. He has cameras. His doorbell camera. Check it." The officer turned back to me. "Do you mind if we take a look?" I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. "Of course, officer." I played the footage, watching as Karen's face turned from rage to pure horror as she realized she had just implicated herself. There, in crystal-clear HD, was undeniable proof that she had stolen my package before disaster struck. The officer stared at the screen for a long moment, then turned back to Karen. "So, you're admitting you stole the package?" Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. She knew she was caught. The officer sighed. "Ma'am, you're lucky we have bigger things to deal with right now. But I suggest you stop taking things that don't belong to you." Karen looked like she was about to explode, but she stayed silent. She had no choice. I watched as the firefighters worked to clear the hornets from her house, shaking my head in mock sympathy. Poor Karen. She had wanted to steal my package. Too bad she got exactly what she deserved instead. Karen wasn't going to let this go. I could see it in the way she stood there, drenched from the garden hose, covered in welts, her fists clenched so tight that I thought she might explode from sheer rage alone. As the firefighters cleared the last of the Hornets from her house, she didn't even acknowledge them. Her eyes were locked on me like I was the final boss in her personal villain origin story. I had won the battle, but I knew in that moment that Karen had declared war. The next morning, I woke up to find my trash cans overturned and garbage strewn across my front yard. The smell of rotten food hit me before I even stepped outside. Karen had struck back. I stared at the mess, shaking my head. She wasn't even trying to be subtle about it. I grabbed my phone, opened my doorbell camera app, and sure enough, there she was at 2:45 a.m., creeping across my lawn like a gremlin, giggling to herself as she dumped bags of food scraps all over my driveway. I wasn't even mad. If anything, I was impressed by her commitment to pettiness. But two could play this game. I cleaned up the mess without a word, not giving her the satisfaction of a reaction. That only made her more desperate. The next day, my internet mysteriously started cutting out at random intervals. At first, I thought it was just a technical issue, but when I checked the side of my house, I found that someone, I wonder who, had tampered with my router, pulling out a few key wires just enough to mess with the connection. Then came the HOA complaints. Suddenly, I was getting emails about noise violations from my non-existent loud parties, parking violations for a car I didn't even own, and an official warning about aggressive behavior toward my neighbors. Karen had gone full scorched earth mode, weaponizing every suburban rule in an attempt to make my life miserable. That's when I realized she wasn't just looking for revenge, she was trying to break me. I needed to end this. I sat down with Mark, explaining everything that had happened over the last few days. He listened with a grin, shaking his head. She's losing it, man. You really got under her skin. She won't stop until she thinks she's won, I said. So we need to make sure she knows she's lost. Mark leaned back in his chair, cracking his knuckles. All right. What's the plan? I had to think big. Bigger than Hornets. Bigger than trash attacks. I needed something that would make Karen rethink her entire life. Something so catastrophic that she would never, ever dare to mess with me again. That's when I remembered a certain viral video I had seen a while back. One involving a very special kind of revenge. Glitter bomb, I said. Mark's eyes lit up. Oh, hell yes. We got to work immediately. Mark had some engineering skills, and with a few hours of work, we built the perfect device. A fake Amazon package, filled to the brim with industrial-strength glitter, set to explode the moment the box was opened. But that wasn't all. We also installed a fart spray mechanism, one that would release an unbearable stench in timed intervals, ensuring that Karen's house would smell like a combination of sewage and rotting eggs for days. And just to add insult to injury, we included a tiny speaker that would play a pre-recorded message the second the package detonated. Congratulations, package thief. It was a masterpiece. I placed the package on my porch in the early afternoon, right in view of Karen's security camera. She wouldn't be able to resist. I even went the extra mile, labeling it as something that looked valuable, high-definition home security camera system. The irony was too perfect. Sure enough, I barely had to wait 2 hours before Karen took the bait. I was in my living room when I saw the motion alert pop up on my phone. I opened the live feed and there she was, practically vibrating with excitement as she rushed over, grabbed the box, and hurried back inside. I held my breath. And then, the moment of truth. Through the camera footage, I saw the briefest flicker of movement through her window. She was inside. She was opening it. Boom. A mushroom cloud of glitter erupted like a bomb had gone off. The door to Karen's house flew open as she staggered outside, her entire upper body covered in shimmering, impossible-to-remove specks of pink, blue, and gold. She let out a scream of pure, unfiltered rage, frantically brushing at her hair, her clothes, her face, only making it worse as the glitter embedded itself deeper. Then came the fart spray. Her scream turned into a gag. She stumbled, dry heaving, as the putrid smell filled the air. Then, the final touch. The speaker crackled to life. "Congratulations, package thief!" Karen let out a sound that I can only describe as a banshee wail before running back inside, slamming the door behind her. It wasn't over. The glitter bomb had been designed to disperse a second round of fine, almost invisible dust, so when she moved, touched anything, or even breathed too hard, the glitter spread further, coating every surface it touched. Every step she took only ensured that the nightmare wouldn't end for weeks. I watched as she flailed around through her window, stomping and thrashing, her tiny chihuahua barking in a complete panic as it, too, became a glitter-covered victim in her self-inflicted disaster. The neighborhood group chat exploded. People had seen it. Someone had even managed to record it. And within hours, Karen was the talk of the town. Her downfall came fast. The HOA, already sick of her antics, had been looking for a reason to shut her down for good. The footage sealed the deal. Multiple neighbors came forward with their own stolen package complaints, and the HOA finally decided enough was enough. She was fined, publicly shamed, and worst of all, completely humiliated. A week later, a moving truck pulled into Karen's driveway. She was leaving. The neighborhood watched as she packed her things, still faintly glittery, her face permanently frozen in a look of seething humiliation. No one offered to help. No one said goodbye. By the time the truck pulled away, taking Karen and her reign of terror with it, the street felt lighter. Peaceful. That night, Mark and I sat on my porch, sipping beers as we watched the sunset. "Well," he said, raising his bottle, "you did it." "I did," I agreed, clinking my bottle against his. No more stolen packages. No more HOA complaints. No more Karen. We sat in silence for a moment, enjoying the quiet. Then, I heard the familiar sound of a delivery truck pulling up to my house. I stood up, watching as the driver placed a box on my porch. My actual package. Untouched. Victory had never felt so sweet.